Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Apavitra Pavitro Va Sarva Avastang Gatopi Va Yat Smaret Pundari Kakshang Sabbaya Abhyantara Shuchihi. Shri Vishnu, Shri Vishnu, Shri Vishnu. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuran Militang Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Mukam Karoti Vachalang Pangung Angayate Girim Yat Kripatamahang Vande Sri Gurun Dinataranam. Yat Kripatamahang Vande Sri Gurun Dinataranam. Vande Paramananda Madhavam. So in our last class, we heard the story of King Nriga, how he was so pious and he was giving so many cows to brahmanas, so much charity, because he was following the path of karma kanda, by which one performs pious activities in order to be elevated to the heavenly material planets. But once there was a slight mistake. One of the cows that he had previously given to a brahmana fell back into his possession, King Nriga's possession, and he gave that same cow second time to a different brahmana. Then the two brahmanas approached King Nriga saying, "Why you have done this? This cow was belonging to one Brahmin, now two Brahmins," and both of them were saying, "No, it's my cow, it's my cow." So King Nriga said, "I'll give you so many thousands of cows each. Just give me back this one cow, and I'll both give you thousands of cows." But the Brahmanas both said, "No, it's my cow. I want my cow." So King Nriga had no solution. So then it was time for him, the point of death, and he was judged by Yamaraj. And Yamaraj hinted to King Nriga that your pious activities are so great that it is very difficult to calculate how long you will reside in the heavenly planets. But there is this discrepancy, so you cannot have uninterrupted. So what is your choice? Do you want to first suffer the results of your impious activities, or do you want to enjoy the results of your pious? So Prabhupada made a comment that King Nriga was not intelligent. So King Nriga thought, let me suffer for my sins first, then I can enjoy unlimitedly, without any interruption, my pious activities. So as a result, he was turned into a lizard. And this lizard was in the bottom of a well, and it was discovered by some of Krishna's sons. One in particular was named Samba and others. So they went to Lord Krishna and told them that there was this lizard in a well. So Krishna came there and pulled the lizard out of the well. And when the lizard came out, then he turned into a beautiful demigod. So King Nriga then explained his position to Krishna, even though Krishna knew everything because he is super soul. And as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, he knows past, present, and future. Still, he wanted to hear from King Nriga his story. So then, where we pick up now is now King Nriga is going to offer prayers to Krishna. My dear Lord, you are the Supersoul seated in everyone's heart. There are many great mystic yogis who have the eyes to see you through the Vedas and Upanishads. To achieve the elevated position of realizing that they are equal in quality with you, they always meditate on you within their hearts. But although such exalted saintly persons may see you constantly within their hearts, they still cannot see you face to face. Therefore, I am very much surprised that I am able to see you personally. I know that I was engaged in so many activities, especially as a king. Although I was in the midst of luxury and opulence and was subject to so much of the happiness and misery of material existence, still I am so fortunate to be seeing you personally. As far as I know, when one becomes liberated from material existence, he or she can see you in this way. So I'd like to make a comment. So here's the point when you know that you have achieved spiritual perfection. It's not that you will need any certification or verification from somebody else. Here is the test. If you are actually liberated from material existence, then you should be able to see Krishna. Let us continue. Prabhupada now comments. When King Nriga elected to receive the results of his impious activities, King Nriga was given the body of a lizard because of the mistake in his pious activities. Thus, King Nriga could not be directly converted to a higher status of life like a great demigod. However, along with his pious activities, King Nriga thought of Krishna. So King Nriga was quickly released from the body of a lizard and then given the body of a demigod. By worshiping the Supreme Lord, those who desire material opulences are given the bodies of powerful demigods. Sometimes these demigods can see the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face, but they are still not yet eligible to enter into the spiritual kingdom, the Vaikuntha planets. However, if the demigods continue to be devotees of the Lord, then the next chance they get, they will enter into the Vaikuntha planets. Having attained the body of a demigod, King Nriga continued to remember everything, then said this to Krishna: Deva Deva Jagannatha Govinda Purushottama Narayana Rishikesha Punya Shlokachutavyaya. My dear Lord, you are the Supreme Lord, and you are worshipped by all demigods. Therefore, you are not one of the ordinary living entities. No, you are the Supreme Person, Purusha Uttama, Lord Purushottama. You are the source of all happiness for all living entities. Therefore, you are known as Govinda. You are the Lord of those living entities who have accepted gross material bodies, and you are the Lord of those who have not yet accepted gross material bodies. Among living entities who have not accepted gross material bodies, or those who hover in the material world as evil spirits, or who live in the ghostly atmosphere. However, those who live in the spiritual kingdom, the Vaikuntha Lokas, have bodies which are not made of material elements. You, my Lord, are infallible, achyuta. You are the supreme, the purest of all living entities. You live in everyone's heart. You are the shelter of all living entities, Narayana. Being seated in the heart of all living beings, you are the supreme director of everyone's sensual activities. Therefore, you are called Rishikesha. O my dear Supreme Lord Krishna, because you have given me this body of a demigod, I will now have to go to some heavenly planet. So I am therefore taking this opportunity to beg for your mercy, that I may have the benediction of never forgetting your lotus feet, no matter which form of life or planet I may be transferred. I must comment on this. This last statement is, in my opinion, the perfectional prayer. It is filled with humility. It is filled with submission. It is the essence of surrender. I want to repeat it. This sentence is so wonderful. My dear Lord, I am taking this opportunity to beg for your mercy, that I may have the benediction of never forgetting your lotus feet, no matter which form of life or planet I may be transferred. King Nriga now continues to pray to Krishna. O Lord, you are all-pervading, present everywhere, as both cause and effect. You are the cause of all causes, and your power is unlimited. You are the absolute truth, the supreme personality of Godhead, and you are the supreme Brahman. I therefore offer my respectful obeisances unto you again and again. My dear Lord, your body is full of transcendental bliss and knowledge, and you are eternal. You are the master of all mystic powers. Therefore, you are known as Yogeshwara. So kindly accept me as an insignificant particle of dust at your lotus feet. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So here is the final section, the final segment of this whole King Nriga pastime. This is the final segment. This is entitled Lord Krishna's Purport to the Story of King Nriga. Before entering the heavenly planets, King Nriga circumambulated Krishna. He touched his helmet to Krishna's lotus feet and bowed before Krishna. Nriga's faith emboldened upon receiving Lord Krishna's mercy, and thus attaining the status of servitude, King Nriga properly glorified Krishna by chanting Krishna's holy names, and then asked Krishna's permission to take his leave. Seeing the airplane from the heavenly planets present before him, Nriga was given permission by Krishna to board it. And after the departure of King Nriga, Lord Krishna expressed his appreciation for the king's devotion to the Brahmanas, as well as King Nriga's charitable disposition and King Nriga's performance of Vedic rituals. Therefore, it is recommended that if one cannot directly become a devotee of the Lord, one should at least follow the Vedic principles of life, because this will enable him or her one day to see Krishna by being promoted either to the spiritual kingdom or indirectly to the heavenly kingdom, where one may have the hope of being transferred to the spiritual planets. At this time, Lord Krishna was present among his relatives who were members of the Kshatriya class. To teach them through the exemplary character of King Nriga, Krishna advised them. Even though a Kshatriya king may be as powerful as fire, it is not possible for such a king to usurp the property of a Brahmin and utilize it for one's own purpose. If this is so, how can ordinary kings who falsely think themselves most powerful within the material world usurp a Brahmana's property? I do not think that taking poison is as dangerous as taking a Brahmana's property. For ordinary poison there is treatment, and one can be relieved from its effects. But if one drinks the poison of taking a Brahmana's property, there is no remedy for such a mistake. The perfect example is King Nriga. King Nriga was very powerful and very pious, but due to the small mistake of unknowingly usurping a Brahmana's cow, King Nriga was condemned to the abominable life of the lizard. Ordinary poison affects only those who drink it, and ordinary fire can be extinguished simply by pouring water on it. But the Arani fire, ignited by the spiritual potency of a Brahmana who is dissatisfied, can burn to ashes the whole family of a person who provokes such a Brahmana. Srila Prabhupada comments that formerly Brahmanas used to ignite the fire of sacrifice not with matches or any external fire, but with their powerful mantras called Arani. Lord Krishna continued to speak to his relatives. If someone even touches a Brahmana's property, his or her family is his or her family is ruined for 3 generations. However, if a Brahmana's property is forcibly taken away, the taker's family for 10 generations before and 10 generations after will be subject to ruination. However, on the other hand, if someone becomes a pure Vaishnava, a pure devotee of the Lord, 10 generations of one's family before birth and 10 generations after will all be liberated. If some foolish king who is puffed up by his wealth, prestige, and power wants to usurp a Brahmana's property, that foolish king should be understood to be clearing his path to hell. Such a foolish king does not know how much he will have to suffer for such an unwise act. If someone takes away the property of a very liberal Brahmana who is encumbered by a large dependent family, then such a usurper is put into the hell known as Kumbhipaka. Not only is one put into this hell, but one's family members also have to accept such a miserable condition of life. A person who takes away a Brahmana's property, whether it was originally given by him or by someone else, is condemned to live for at least 60,000 years as a miserable insect in stool. Therefore, I instruct you, all my boys and relatives present here, do not, even by mistake, take the possession of a Brahman and thereby pollute your whole family. If someone even wishes to possess such property, let alone attempts to take it away by force, the duration of one's life will be reduced. One will be defeated by one's enemies, and after being bereft of his royal position, when he gives up his body, he will become a serpent, giving trouble to all other living entities. My dear boys and relatives, I therefore advise you that even if a Brahmana becomes angry with you and even calls you ill names or even curses you, still you should not retaliate. On the contrary, you should smile, tolerate, and offer respects to the Brahmana. You all know very well that even I myself offer obeisances to the Brahmanas with great respect 3 times daily. So you should therefore follow my instruction and example. For I shall not forgive anyone who does not follow them, and I shall punish either him or her. You should all learn from the example of King Nriga that even if someone unknowingly usurps the property of a Brahmana, he or she will be put into a miserable condition of life. Prabhupada comments, the fire ignited by stealing a Brahmana's property is likened to the fire which blazes within the cavity of an old tree. Such a fire cannot be put out even with the water of numerous rainfalls. Rather, it burns the whole tree from within all the way down to the roots in the ground. So similarly, the fire ignited by stealing the property of a Brahmana is the most deadly and should be avoided at all costs. Thus, Lord Krishna, who is always engaged in purifying the conditioned living entities, gave instruction not only to his family members and the inhabitants of Dwaraka, but to all the members of human society. After this, Krishna entered his palace. So, it was mentioned in this last portion about Kumbhipaka. And in case somebody wants to know more about Kumbhipaka, here is what I found in the Srimad Bhagavatam. In the 5th canto, Shukadeva Goswami describes the following 28 hells: Tamisra, Undhatamisra, Raurava, Maharaurava, Kumbhipaka, Kalasutra, Asipatravana, Sukaramukha, Andakupa, Krimibojana, Sandangsha, Taptasurmi, Vajrakantaka Shalmali, Vaitarani, Puyoda, Pranaroda, Vishasana, Lala Bhoksha, Sarame Yadana, Avichi, Akshapana, Kshara Kardama, Raksho Gana Bhojana, Shula Prota, Danda Shuka, Avata Nirodhana, Paryavartana, and Suchi Mukha. Shukadeva Goswami in the 5th canto tells Maharaj Parikshit, for the maintenance of their bodies and for the satisfaction of their tongues, cruel persons cook poor animals and birds alive. Such persons are condemned even by man-eaters, and in their next lives they are carried by the Yamadutas to the hell known as Kumbhipaka, where they are cooked in boiling oil. And in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the author, Krishnadas Kaviraj, he writes as follows: if one simply adheres to mundane arguments and therefore does not accept the pastimes of Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that these pastimes are inconceivable and wonderful, then that behavior will force one to boil in the hell of Kumbhipaka, and for such a person there is no deliverance. Prabhupada comments, Kumbhipaka, a type of hellish condition, is described in the final chapter of the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Therein it is said that a person who cooks living birds and beasts simply to satisfy one's tongue is brought before Yamaraj after death and is punished in the Kumbhipaka hell. In that hell, one is put into boiling oil. Kumbhipaka is meant for persons who are unnecessarily envious. Those who are envious of the activities of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are also punished in that hellish condition. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.